I'd like to call to order the meeting of Monday, January 20th, and we will start with the land acknowledgement. The Hamilton Wentworth District School Board acknowledges our presence on the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee Confederacy land as determined by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. The intent of this agreement is for all nations sharing this territory to do so responsibly, respectfully, and sustainably in perpetuity. We respect the long-standing relationships with the local Indigenous communities, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Six Nations of the Grand River. And with that, I ask you to rise for O Canada. So welcome to our guests and members of the audience tonight. I'd like to start with just stating that we did receive regrets from student trustee Cameron Prozik. And with that, we'll like to invite Superintendent Stefanian up to the front for profiling excellence.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening. As trustees are aware, this is the time each month where we take a few moments to recognize the accomplishments of our students and our staff, both inside the walls of HWDSB and outside the walls of our buildings. And this evening, I have the distinct pleasure to introduce you to 2 students from our schools as well as 1 staff member. So I'd like to begin this evening by inviting Epiphan Sahin, a student from Mount Albion Elementary School, to come forward and receive a Profiling Excellence Award. We are recognizing Epiphan this evening for being a contest winner in the Hamilton Children's Water Festival event logo contest. And I believe Epiphan is going to come forward this evening with Mom, so please come forward and a round of applause. Now, Epiphan is here this evening with a wonderful support system. She has her parents with her, as well as her classroom teacher and her principal. And please come forward so you can get a picture head on. No, come forward. Dad, come on. Come on. It's okay. Want to make sure you get the picture. Epiphan is described as an incredible artist who thinks outside of the box. She takes the requirements given for any assignment very seriously, and she always exceeds expectations. The school is very proud of Epiphan for being selected as an ambassador for this year's Hamilton Water Festival. Her artwork was selected to be used on over 5,000 t-shirts and water bottles that will be given to students across the city at the festival this spring. So Epiphan's artwork that she carefully took the time to craft, speaking to the importance of water conservation, is going to be shared across the city with thousands of students. That's a huge accomplishment. At this time, she'll also be meeting with members from the city of Hamilton, including the mayor, and Epiphan has already been told that she will be a VIP at the upcoming festival. Again, something to be very proud of. Epiphan is described as being a very empathetic and humble student. She always does exceptionally well, but she's not somebody who puts her accomplishments at the forefront. She's very proud of the work she does, as she should be, and we're very proud of her and her work that will be showcased at the festival. She's most excited that her classroom teacher and her classmates will be at the festival again this year together as a group to learn more. On behalf of all of us, Epiphan, congratulations on your award and congratulations on profiling excellence tonight. Next up this evening, I would like to introduce trustees to another one of our amazing students, and I'd like to ask Anika Gupta, student from Westdale Secondary School, to come forward to receive a Profiling Excellence Award from Trustee Bingham. We are recognizing Anika this evening because she received a national runner-up position in the Sanofi BioGenius competition. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that because when I heard about Anika's accomplishment, I had to look it up to find out exactly what was the competition all about. So Anika's family, and Anika is here with her parents this evening as well, shared with me that her passion around neuroscience began back when she was in grade 7. And her interest was fueled by trying to find a potential treatment for Parkinson's disease because her grandfather has been living with Parkinson's for over 5 years. She recognized what he was going through, and she wanted to try and find a way to make things better for him and other individuals who have Parkinson's. She describes Parkinson's as a disease where the neurons responsible for controlling movement responses die. This is why Parkinson's patients usually have hand tremors. So what did she do about it? To model the death of neurons, I used model systems, including a nematode and human cell lines, to investigate the protective effect that a TP5 protein can have on protecting the neurons which die in a Parkinson's patient. I found that the TP5 protein kept these dying neurons healthier for a longer period of time. Huge to discover that. With this project, she competed in the Sanofi BioGenius Southwest competition this past April and won first place. I think a round of applause on that. Anika then moved on to compete at the National Sanofi BioGenius competition held in Toronto in May. There were 9 competitors representing all regions across Canada. So when you think about the size of the country, 9 competitors. At this competition, I was the national runner-up. And then following that involvement, her work was featured in both the Hamilton Spectator, and she had an opportunity to be on Cable 14 City Matters to talk about that life-changing research and work. Anika is very passionate about science and about neuroscience. And we talked about her goal of becoming a neurosurgeon in the future. And we talked about some schools, and she's looking at good science schools within Canada and possibly in the United States. And we certainly know that that goal that she has set for herself, she certainly will achieve as she has continued with this passion from grade 7. A little bit more about Anika. She's in the IB program at Westdale. She's won a gold medal at the Regional Science Fair 3 years in a row. For For 4 years, she was in the regional competition and the national competition and international stage for 2 years. Honor roll throughout her time in school. She was an invited speaker at the first ever March for Science in Hamilton in 2017. And in addition to all that, she has time to volunteer at a science and engineering club at McMaster University, and she helped organize the 59th annual Bay Area Science Fair as an advisor. Amazing, amazing accomplishments, Anika. Certainly, it's very clear that when you have a goal in mind, you set a plan in place, and you make it happen. And there is no doubt in my mind that you will be a neurosurgeon 5 years down the road. She's in grade 12 right now, so it'll be 5 or 6 years yet. But on behalf of all of us, congratulations, and congratulations on your award this evening. Our final Profiling Excellence recipient this evening is in the staff category, and I'd like to ask Randy Gallant, principal at Ancaster High, to come forward to receive a Profiling Excellence Award this evening for receiving the Ontario Principal Council's Difference Maker Award at their annual gala this year. So Randy is here this evening, also supported by a wonderful group of individuals. He has his partner as well as his 3 sons, and it is fantastic to have Randy here with us this evening because while he has been an administrator in HWDSB for almost 20 years, I believe this month marks the end of Randy's time with HWDSB as he is moving into retirement at the end of January. So first, Randy, congratulations on your pending retirement on behalf of everyone in the room. So Randy received, as I mentioned, the Difference Maker Award from the Ontario Principals Council, which, as individuals know, represents administrators across the province of Ontario. So certainly a huge compliment to be recognized by peers across the province for the work that you have undertaken, Randy, in your career. Throughout your time in HWDSB, Randy has consistently displayed an incredible ability to create a positive school culture that is inclusive and caring. His focus is always on students and creating an environment where the students are welcomed, supported, and cared for. His passion for athletics and music is always evident, and he uses these disciplines to shape programming in the school. When looking for Randy in the building, if he isn't on the sideline of a school game, in a classroom, or a learning space, then you can also find him coaching in the community. He always looks forward to music nights, playing guitar each week for life skills and special education classes. He recognized early on what motivated students to attend school, and he's built programming responding to student voice and interest. He invests his time with students and teachers generously, and this skill drives the strong connections and relationships he has. I've had the opportunity personally to work with Randy in a couple of different schools. Our paths crossed, and I can certainly say that any conversation I ever had with Randy began with and ended with what is most important to students. And there wasn't any task that was too big or too small if it meant making a difference in the lives of the students in his building. Randy was there to do it in a nanosecond. And you would walk in the building and you would feel that the students were loved and cared for. And that's the legacy, Randy, that you've been creating. Randy establishes exceptional community relationships and partnerships, whether we're talking about the Ancaster Theatre Company, Morgan Firestone, or the Ancaster Food Bank. And you helped to create the first Hall of Fame at Ancaster that recognized and honored past alumni for their contributions. Amazing career that you've had across many schools in HWDSB, Randy. And certainly there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of young people that have benefited from your leadership and your caring. So Randy was asked a question by OPC. I'm going to share his words. It was asked, what does it mean to be a difference maker? And I quote, "We all want to believe that we have made a difference, that we have positively impacted our colleagues and the students in our care in ways that will ripple forward even as we move on. As principal, I have always sought to be where teachers and students are, playing guitar, leading sing-alongs and special classes on Fridays, coaching hockey, chaperoning DECA business trips, rapping at student assemblies. Being fully immersed in the culture of school was not a success strategy I employed when I began, but an innate desire to be part of the school community. The byproduct of this involvement was connecting with students and teachers in a deeply authentic ways. Really hearing student voice meant going to the many places that they are and listening. And when you've coached alongside your teacher or played guitar for students in their classes, they see you care about them and want to contribute to creating a vibrant and inclusive school. Randy, we can attest to the fact that when you speak about what it means to you to make a difference, that you have absolutely made a difference in the lives of your students and your staff and your community. On behalf of all of us, congratulations on your OPC award, congratulations on your Profiling Excellence Award, and enjoy a well-deserved, wonderful retirement. And Madam Chair, this conclude. Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't conclude. That was acting. I was pretending. This doesn't conclude Profiling Excellence this evening because some additional family members have just arrived. So that would lead me to believe we have one more Profiling Excellence this evening to give out. And I would like to invite our director, Manny Figueredo, to come forward to receive his Profiling Excellence Award for receiving the Brock University Faculty of Education Distinguished Graduate Award back in September. So, right, you don't get to leave. So, and I certainly invite Manny's family, if you'd like to take photos, you're certainly welcome to come forward to do that. So right now, Manny is thinking, wow, Sharon's got a microphone and as much time in front of her as she wants to talk about me. And so I'd like to begin this evening, first of all, on behalf of all of us, congratulating Manny, our director, on his accomplishment and his recognition from Brock University. And we are joined here tonight by his wonderful partner, Pat, and son, John Luca. And I am quite confident that his daughter, Ariana, is watching at home, well, actually at Western University in her dorm room through the miracle of technology. And I know we also have some other members of Manny's family. So thank you for being here this evening, because this really is a shared award. Because for Manny to be able to do all of the wonderful things that he does for us and for the students and families within HWDSB, we know that his family is sharing him with us. And so we thank them for doing that, for sure. So I'm going to begin by telling you a little bit about Manny and his, oh, I know Manny, I got as much time, look Manny, 5 pages. So I'll tell you a little bit about the award that our director received from Brock University. So the Faculty of Education recognizes graduates for their leadership and their achievement within the community. And Manny was recognized at their alumni reception back in late September, September the 21st. And at the time, Manny had shared that he was humbled and grateful to be honored with this award on behalf of his family, public education, and the community. Brock University describes that Manny has been steadfast in his dedication to improving outcomes for students, whether that's spearheading efforts to improve literacy rates at a local school, coaching a girls' basketball team to 2 championship victories, or piloting a large board through complex change. During his early years of teaching, Manny was encouraged by a mentor to pursue leadership opportunities and a graduate degree. He completed his Bachelor of Physical Education at McMaster University and then his B.Ed at York University. He started his Master's of Education at Brock in 1997, and he enjoyed engaging in that learning at the time as a mature student because he said it provided him with the opportunity to take real-life experiences that were happening in the classroom every day as a teacher back into that learning realm. He described the Brock University experience as being instrumental in helping him in his career. So we were very lucky because Manny began his career in the Waterloo Catholic District School Board. And in 2002, he decided to make the leap to HWDSB and began as a vice principal at Cardinal Heights before ultimately moving into a principal role at Guy Brown, Memorial Elementary School, Memorial City, and time at Sir John A. Macdonald as well. He stepped into the role of superintendent with both Hamilton and Waterloo Catholic before becoming director, as we all know, in 2015. Michael Owen, the dean at the Faculty of Education, says, Manny's focus is on student and student learning first. Manny promotes ways to improve academic, social-emotional, physical, and civic learning outcomes for students. Brock is proud to have been part of his growth as an educator and an administrator. Manny's family history has made him deeply aware that each HWDSB student comes to school with unique challenges. His approach to his work is grounded in the belief that we have a responsibility to use our privilege with others, for others. So what exactly does this mean? Well, for us in this room and those in our school, we have the opportunity each and every day to see the incredible impact of Manny's care, compassion, and leadership. So I'll briefly touch on our 5 priorities and what have we seen. Under Manny's leadership, positive culture and well-being, the first ever HWDSB staff census. Who are we as a group of staff? Do we represent our students? The launch of a significant equity action plan that helps students to see themselves reflected in their classrooms. A mental health and well-being action plan that extends even further to say, how do we ensure that we're thinking about our students holistically and taking care of them? And further recognizing that students need to have their lived experiences honored, the creation of a parent guide to religious and creed-based accommodation. Student learning and achievement. Manny's unrelenting focus on student learning and achievement, which is something that everyone in the organization knows. And it's what we need. Our students need to achieve. 71% of our students received a B on their June 2000, grade 1 students received a B on their June 2019 report card. That's an increase of 5%. Unrelenting focus on reading by the end of grade 1. And our 5-year graduation rate, it continues to climb to over 80%. Effective communication. First ever communication, strategic communication and engagement plan under Manny's leadership. Enhancing communication with parents through a safer arrivals system. Movement towards standardizing digital platforms and the introduction of a parent portal. All things that have happened since Manny has stepped into the director role. School renewal. We implement an annual capital plan of $35.5 million every year. Huge impact on the learning environment for our students every single day. As of November 2018, we had on the books 13 new schools or additions as a result of Manny's leadership. And many of those additions including much needed childcare wings in our schools. Partnerships. We know how focused Manny is on connecting in with community partners, making them and ensuring that they are an authentic part of the work that we do because we can't do it alone. So we've seen a consistent partnership engagement approach and a revitalized foundation for student success. Accomplishments in our 5 priority areas as a result of Manny's leadership. As someone who has the opportunity to work with Manny every day, and I know I speak on behalf of all of us in the room who have that honor, his student-centered approach is always front and center. There isn't anything that Manny won't do if it makes a difference for students. He's a leader who believes in transparency. Let's be clear. Let's make sure people know what we're thinking and why we're doing what we're doing. Let's invite people into the conversation and authentically listen and really hear their voice before we make a decision. He leads with his head and he leads with his heart. He thinks about the people that are being impacted by a decision. One of the individuals who reports directly to Manny said to me today, you know, he's so generous in giving of his time. He's incredibly busy, but he takes time to mentor me and to answer my questions, and he has no idea how much that means to me. Manny models for all of us the importance of balance, the importance of well-being, and taking care of yourself, and he reminds us of how important it is to do that. We appreciate his sense of humor and how there are moments when you need that levity, you can rely on Manny to bring that forward. But most of all, it's his vision and his passion for public education that we all benefit from each and every day. It's his genuine caring for students and genuine caring for staff and for everyone in this room. Manny, I consider myself extremely lucky to be a superintendent who gets to work and learn from you each and every day. You always model for us what's important in decision-making and working with each other. On behalf of all of us, congratulations on your recognition from Brock University and on your Profiling Excellence Award this evening. And Madam Chair, this does conclude Profiling Excellence.
I'll just be very quick. I want to thank my wife, Pat, and my son, John Luca.
He forgot to thank me before at Brock.
And I also want to thank 2 close friends, Rob and Carm De Benedictus. They've been so part of the journey along the way. And I just want to close, but everything as Sharon has said, it's not one person, but it's the collective we. So those accomplishments you heard are a result of the efforts of both people, both groups around the circle. So thank you.
All right, we'll welcome back and we'll resume into the regular agenda. With that, I'm looking for approval of the agenda. Put forward by Trustee Galindo, seconded by Trustee Tutt. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Declarations of conflict of interest. Seeing none. Confirmation of the minutes. So I'll give trustees just a moment to review. And seeing no concerns, we'll move along. With that, we'll move straight into reports from trustee special committees. Item 7, program from December 9th, turning to trustee Buck.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I do want to say thank you to former chair of program, Trustee Deeth, for passing the torch and allowing me this first chance to chair a committee. It was a rocky start. I was surrounded by a group of very lovely people who took pity and mercy on me. So thank you. With that, I'll stop ad-libbing and just read my report. So we had 3 monitoring items on the night of December 9th. Our first was a partnership update. Staff presented the mid-year update, which included the launch of the online partnership application form in April 2019 and their new email, partnerships@hwdsb.on.ca. Highlights of the 5-step process for partnerships, namely application, approach, alliance, approval, and action. Improvements to the partnership database with a target to increase the number of community partnerships reflected by August 2020. Partnership communication, including the partnership's website, staff intranet, and internal communication structure. Partnership agreements formalized include ArcelorMittal Dofasco, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Hamilton, Hamilton Tiger Cats, and Taste Buds. Our second monitoring item was 21st Century Learning strategy update. The update included a revised timeline identifying the new target date of June 2020 to present the draft strategy to program committee, a detailed work plan for the policy development which incorporates online surveys, response analysis, a draft strategy, and implementation plan. Exec Council review and approval, stakeholder engagement events, and subsequent presentation to program committee for review and approval. Staff committed to providing an update in February of 2020 of the inventory of devices being utilized in schools, as well as the source of funding used by schools to obtain devices on hand. In addition, they will provide details and numbers regarding students that choose to opt out of device program. Trustee Danko, with the support of the program committee members, requested the following from staff, that we would receive an update on the 21st Century Learning strategy timelines at each program committee meeting for the rest of the year 2020, and that staff bring the draft strategy to trustees prior to participating in stakeholder engagement events. Our third update of the evening was for our secondary program strategy and specialist high skills major, so our SHSM programs. Staff provided an update on the expansion of SHSM programs within HWDSB program strategy, which included data, communication strategies, and next steps for continued growth. Appendix A, SHSM programs available starting November 2019. And with that, I would move the report.
Thank you, Trustee Buck. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Deeth. With that, any questions or discussion to any of the monitoring items? Seeing none, on the motion to receive, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Moving along to Finance and Facilities report, turning to Trustee Danko.
Thank you. And through the chair, Finance and Facilities met back in December on the 12th. We had a number of monitoring items you'll see before you. The first is the capital projects construction update, and this is something we receive on a quarterly basis. It's a summary of the capital projects underway and their status, and there's a lovely chart in the report that you'll see attached to your email with the board material. And trustees will note that we have 9 new builds, 2 of which are complete, so 7 under construction. We have several additions that are completed and some waiting for approval to proceed. So we've got a lot of construction work and really appreciate the work that our staff has done in moving this forward. Our second item is the enrollment summary from October 31st, 2019. And trustees will remember that that is one of our key reporting dates that drives the grant for student needs and staffing. And this year, we are actually over 50,000 students in our board. We've seen increases in enrollment for both elementary and secondary panels, and we haven't seen that in a long time. So that's led to the addition of additional elementary teachers and a DECE in September, and no reductions in secondary staffing. So that's great news. We also saw the development of budget priorities for guiding the 2020-21 budget development. Staff came to us to let us know that there is a process in which we can develop budget priorities in the past, but given the number of things that are happening this year, including consultations and labor negotiations, we decided that staff recommended there would not be a consultation related to budget priorities for the next year. Trustees will note that those priorities have remained stable for the last number of years, and there haven't been any significant budget there have been significant budget reductions. We haven't seen an increase in funding, and that's usually how we make decisions for how to spend an increase in funding. So we don't anticipate being in a position we will have additional money to spend this year. As a result, we will just approve the budget priorities as part of the budget process, but we will not have a public consultation this year. With that, I'd like to remove the report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Danko. I have a seconder, please. Seconded by Trustee Buck. Questions or discussions to the monitoring items? Seeing none. All in favor of receiving the report? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Next, we have our school year calendar 2020-2021. And Superintendent Gillies will be presenting the report.
Thank you. And through the chair, I'm pleased to bring forward on behalf of Executive Council the proposed 2020-21 school year calendars for the board's approval to proceed to public consultation. The draft calendars have been prepared in compliance with the Ministry of Education Regulation 304. Regulation 304 requires school boards to provide a minimum of 194 school days from September 1st through to June 30th. School days include instructional days, exam days, and PA days. For the 2020-21 school year, the total number of school days available from the Tuesday after the Labor Day long weekend, June 8th, to June 30th is 192. In order to be in compliance with Regulation 304, 2 PA days have been placed prior to the Labor Day holiday, Wednesday, September 2nd, and Thursday, September 3rd. This provides schools the opportunity to have professional learning and compliance training prior to the first day of school for students. As in other years, students receive 187 instructional days beginning the Tuesday after Labor Day. School holidays are also determined through the ministry and are available publicly through the ministry website. Consultation with the coterminous board is ongoing through this process to seek to have PA days align wherever possible. Through recent consultation with the coterminous board, the 2 September PA days are planned to occur on the same days for both boards. Dates for professional activity days have been established through consultation with the School Year Calendar Advisory Committee that includes representation from employee groups as well as representatives from the HWDSB Parent Involvement Committee, as well as the Council of Home and School Association. Date placement of PA days has also been carefully reviewed by Executive Council to ensure timely professional learning opportunities to positively influence student learning, achievement, and well-being. Further input will be gathered and reported through an online public consultation process supported by the Research and Analytics Department that will allow for public input prior to final approval by the board and ultimately submission to the Ministry of Education by May 1st. Appreciating the collaborative efforts and guidance of the School Year Calendar Advisory Committee, as well as Executive Council, it is recommended that the draft calendars before trustees be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Thank you, Superintendent Gillies. With that, I'm looking for a motion to approve the report. Trustee Paikin-Miller, seconded by Trustee Galindo. With that, we'll now open it up for discussion and questions. Trustee Deeth.
Through the chair, my only question is in regards to PA days. We have 5 PA days. I know we're allowed up to 7. So I'm just wondering if this is down from, are we normally around 5, or was there any thought, with all the learning that's been on the table lately, I'm just wondering why we didn't go to the full 7.
Thank you, Trustee Deeth. To the Superintendent.
Thank you. And through the chair, we have 7 PA days as usual. So it includes the 2 PA days on September 2nd and September 3rd, as well as the 5 PA days that are within the instructional days.
Further questions? Trustee Mulholland?
Through the chair to the associate director, I know it's always difficult to get the number of days within the calendar, but when the parents look at the children go to school one day and then they get 2 PA days and then they get another day in the first week of school, is there no other way, possible way? Because we know we're going to get an awful lot of criticism for that. I know it's always very difficult, but is there no other possible way to eliminate them?
I think there's clarification on this, and perhaps.
Well, I've asked a question.
Yeah, so there's, I'll go through to Superintendent Gillies, just noting that the trustees' request for more clarity, just to make sure when we go for consultation that there's a lot more clarity around this as well, because I know others will likely draw the same conclusion. But Superintendent Gillies, can you please offer?
Sorry, Madam Chair, but I asked through the chair, the associate director, and he made up the calendar consultation with his team. And my question was, is there no other way to do with those 2, the second and third day of school? That's my question. I don't have to.
Okay, to the superintendent.
Thank you, and through the chair, just to provide clarity, under Superintendent Gillies' leadership, the school year calendar has been brought forward and to Executive Council, and when we look at the calendar, both for the elementary and the secondary, the days that straddle those PA days prior to Labor Day, those are non-school days. Superintendent Gillies is seeking clarification from the ministry as to how to appropriately label those 2 days. But they are non-school days, they're non-instructional days, and that's why before you they appear blank. The first day of school, which is noted, I believe, in green with an FD, indicates the first school day for students. So I hope that clarifies.
Trustee Mulholland? Further questions? Trustee Danko?
Thank you, and through the chair, I recognize that we're required to provide a full 2 weeks vacation or time off, I guess, over the Christmas holidays, and I recognize that we need to include the 25th in that time. But the Christmas holidays are shifted quite a bit earlier than in normal year. Will we have, well, I guess this is going up for consultation, but if approved, would we have a early communication strategy to let families know that this is quite a bit different than, say, this year?
Superintendent Gillies?
Thank you. And through the chair, as was indicated by the vice chair, there will be communication through the consultation process. Once that process is done, this returns back to trustees in April. And if approved at that point, then we will work with the communications department to ensure that the calendars are communicated out and it's available publicly through websites as well as noted through school newsletters and other forms of communication.
Further questions? Seeing none, I'll just add my own question. With bringing forward the 2 PD days prior to the commencement of school, are there any unique benefits or challenges with having the PE days scheduled up front?
Thank you. Through the chair, benefits certainly in terms of front-loading learning prior to the start of the school year. So that allows the opportunity for compliance training to take place prior to the first day of school for students. It also allows professional development and other training to happen at that point in time. So definitely there is value added to that. It does also present challenges for some of our other groups, such as an example being we are beginning earlier in the school year towards the beginning of September, staff being in our buildings. So a strain that places would be the preparation of maintenance and cleaning through the summer for our caretaking staff. So we recognize that our buildings will need to be fully operational and accessible earlier than in the past. However, through the consultation process with the committee, that does include representation from our caretaking group, so we are preparing for that.
Thank you. I have some other questions now. Trustee Tutt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, just a question to Superintendent Gillies. With regards to these days, I was wondering if there was any thought or consideration given if any of these days land on days where some staff might have religious observance or whatnot. I would hate for staff not being able to participate on these days if for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. And through the chair, that is one of the reasons why we seek public consultation, to ensure that our days do align and don't conflict with significant days, religious days and other days to be mindful of. So we'll certainly look for that, and we would review that as part of this process. And if that is the case, you'll see that come back when this returns to trustees in April.
Trustee Buck?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wondered, having those 2 PA days in that, on the 2nd and the 3rd, is that going to impact teacher and staff setup of their classrooms? I know that week before school officially starts is when they have the opportunity to prepare their rooms. So is that going to be impacted in any way?
Thank you. Superintendent Gillies?
Through the chair, certainly that preparation that we appreciate our educators when they do prepare their rooms in advance on a voluntary basis. We certainly appreciate that, and that may happen earlier. So certainly that would be an impact here. However, the important thing for trustees to note is that to be in compliance, we must have those 2 school days in there during that week. That's the only place that those 2 days could be placed during that week so that we are in compliance and have those 194 days. So boards such as ours are all facing this reality that we are required to do that.
Any further questions? Ahona, or student trustee Mehdi?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm just wondering, as a lot of our students are Muslim and do celebrate Eid, what would the kind of procedure look for that in terms of maybe perhaps being excused or attendance, or perhaps like personal days for staff?
Superintendent Gillies?
Certainly accommodations are available for both students as well as staff to honor those religious days, and we make every accommodation possible so that that can take place.
Seeing no further questions, on the motion to approve the report, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Turning now to item 10, Central Mountain Secondary Boundary Review, and I will turn to the director to bring forward the report.
So thank you. Through the chair, on page 10-1, the trustees will notice that there are 3 recommendations in front of you regarding the Central Mountain Secondary Boundary Review. I'm going to ask to set the stage here as you, that Superintendent Denemy begin by doing some context setting and then speak about the Sherwood piece, and then Superintendent Romano and then speak about Nora Francis and Sir Alan McNabb, and I'll leave it up to the chair to decide how trustees will want to vote on each recommendation. So I will pass it over to Superintendent Denemy now to set the context and then speak about Sherwood boundary.
Thank you, and through the chair. In response to the resolution approved by the board on April 4th, 2019, the boundary review policy and procedure was initiated for the Central Mountain Secondary Schools, Sherwood, Sir Alan McNabb, and Nora Francis Henderson, following the boundary review guiding principles that are on the screen behind you. Currently, 3 elementary schools do not align with the secondary boundaries: Franklin Road, Pauline Johnson, and Ridgemount. GL Armstrong's boundaries align with their secondary school. However, many students have the choice to attend Sherwood Secondary School. The advisory panel met twice on December 17th, 2019 and January 9th, 2020. And the public consultation meeting was held on January 9th, 2020. After community consultation, staff recommend that each of the 4 schools, Franklin Road, GL Armstrong, Pauline Johnson, and Ridgemount, be considered separately within the secondary boundaries, given the geography, diversity, needs, and recommendations from each community throughout the consultation. Each school community discussed potential options at the advisory and public meetings. 3 common themes emerged from feedback gathered. 1, maintain current pathways based on transitions that have already begun. 2, maintain HSR, transportation for current pathways. 3, consideration for siblings to keep families together. Staff recommend the following. The boundary for Sherwood Secondary be amended as follows. A, the entire elementary boundary of Franklin Road, defined by south of Fennel Avenue East, north of Mohawk Road East, west of Upper Gage Avenue, east of Upper Wellington Street, to align with the Sherwood secondary boundary. B, the entire elementary boundary of GL Armstrong, defined by north of Fennel Avenue East, south of the Sherman Access, west of Upper Sherman Avenue, and east of Upper Wellington Street, to align with the Sherwood secondary boundary.
We'll now move on to the boundary of Nora Francis Henderson Secondary School, to be amended as follows. A, the entire elementary boundary of Pauline Johnson, defined by south of Mohawk Road East, north of Stone Church Road East, east of Upper Wentworth Street, west of Upper Wentworth Street, and east of Upper Wellington Street, to align with the Nora Francis Henderson secondary boundary. And B, the elementary boundary of Ridgemount, defined by south of the Lincoln Alexander Parkway, north of Rymal Road, west of Upper Wellington, and east of Upper James, to align with the Nora Francis Henderson secondary boundary. Finally, number 3, the boundary for Sir Allan McNabb be amended as follows. The elementary boundary of Ridgemount, defined by north of Lincoln Alexander Parkway, south of Mohawk Road, west of Upper Wellington, and east of Upper James, to align with the Sir Allan McNabb boundary. At the public meeting, we shared the following regarding school utilization. Sherwood would range between a minimum of 80% utilization and 101% utilization, given the combination of options. 2, Nora Francis Henderson would range between a minimum of 89% utilization and a maximum of 98, given the combination of options. And Sir Allan McNabb would range between a minimum utilization of 61% and a maximum utilization of 81%, given the combination of options. The body of the report you see before you captures the details and implications for each of the 4 elementary schools impacted. Thank you.
So I think I'm going to end up dividing up the motions into 1, 2, and 3. But before we even go to the motions, I'm wondering if we can have, I guess, a more fluid Q&A. So if anyone has any questions with regards to item 1, I would be looking to accept questions on item 1 now. Or then we'll open it up to more broad Q&A. But if it's focused on 1, that would be fantastic. If not, all questions are welcome at this point. Vice Chair Danko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought I would offer some comments because I did get to participate in terms of the advisory committee and the public consultation, along with trustees Archer and trustee Bach. And I did want to thank Superintendent Romano and Superintendent Denemy for facilitating really effective consultation with the community that has led to this report. And thank you to the Boundary Review Advisory Committee, which was comprised of principals from the affected schools. We had school council representatives from the affected schools that all came up for those 2 meetings that really helped drive this. I think there's 3 key considerations that trustees would like to take into account based on the guiding principles when they're thinking about what makes sense for boundaries. The first is, of course, the impact on students and families. And the feedback from students and families are that these were the desired boundaries. There were some discussions, and of course, we're not going to have a consensus amongst every family if we were able to reach them, but for the families that participated, it was very clear. The second consideration is what is the impact on program? And that's why we heard from the superintendents that, one, we want to think about capacity of the high schools, but also what is the critical mass that we need to offer programming for all students, for all pathways. And so although Sir Allan McNabb's numbers would be lower, it's almost like we're shifting those percentages. Right now they're at Nora Francis Henderson, and it's going to shift to Sir Allan McNabb, but we were assured that we would still have that critical mass to offer programming for all pathways. And the third consideration would be, what's the impact on transportation and walkability? And so this new option for all of the boundaries increases walkability for students and has a net savings impact on our board from a financial perspective, which I think is also important. So I wanted to offer that because these are important decisions that we're making, and I appreciate the public input into these. I appreciate that it's maybe not the perfect solution for every family, but I'm willing to support all of these recommended actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Danko. Is there any further comments or questions from trustees? Trustee Bingham.
I just want to make a comment to those who haven't been through this before. When we've gone through these accommodation reviews, when we've gone through the boundary lines and things, we see roadways, we see kind of pathways, we see this place is bigger than this piece, and this piece is smaller and way too small, and numbers are shifting. What we don't see are the amount of actual houses that are there that house families with children who are in their system. How many apartment buildings are there? How many townhouses are there? How many actual buildings and not-for-profit buildings and things like that? And you have to take into consideration all of those things when you're looking at why these boundaries are where they've decided to be. So we don't really see the individual of what's happening with the families and where they are, but I know that staff have that knowledge. So it's something that we have to really trust that what they're doing, and we've been through this, what they're doing is correct, and I would definitely back all of these as well at this point.
Further questions, comments? I'm going to add myself to the general questions, comments. In terms of the participation, can we just have a little bit more feedback or, I guess, detail on I guess, how many attended the public consultations, if we have that information?
So through the chair, we had approximately 25 people on the advisory committee itself. The evening of the public consultation, we did ask participants to sign in. Not everybody did. So I don't have that exact number to give you.
I'm hearing that it was fair. It was a fair amount of interest.
Through the chair, we set the evening up into different stations for different schools, and we had representation at each and every elementary school and each and every secondary school.
Okay, well, with that, seeing no further questions, I'm going to go into the first, I guess, portion, which is the boundary for Sherwood Secondary School be amended as follows. A, the entire elementary boundary of Franklin Road, defined by south of Fennel Avenue, east, north of Mohawk Road, east, west of Upper Gage Avenue, and east of Upper Wellington Street, be aligned to the Sherwood secondary boundary. And B, that the entire elementary boundary of GL Armstrong, defined by north of Fennel Avenue East, south of the Sherman Axis, west of the Upper Sherman Avenue, and east of Upper Wellington Street, to align with the Sherwood secondary boundary. So I would be looking for, I'm looking for a mover by Vice Chair Danko, seconded by Trustee Buck. So with that, is there questions, comments specific to item 1? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Item 2, the boundary for Nora Francis Henderson Secondary School be amended as follows. A, the entire elementary boundary of Pauline Johnson, defined by south of Mohawk Road East, north of Stone Church Road East, west of Upper Wentworth Street, and east of Upper Wellington Street, to align with the Nora Francis Henderson secondary boundary. And B, that the elementary boundary for Ridgemount, defined by south of the Lincoln Alexander Parkway, north of Rymel Road, west of Upper Wellington Street, and east of Upper James Street, to align with the Nora Francis Henderson's secondary boundary. Looking for a motioner. Trustee Bingham, seconded by Trustee Archer. Questions or discussion to item 2? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Item 3, the boundary for Sir Alan McNabb Secondary School be amended as follows. A, the elementary boundary of Ridgemount, defined by north of Lincoln Alexander Parkway, south of Mohawk Road, west of Upper Wellington Street, and east of Upper James, to align with the Sir Alan McNabb secondary boundary. I have a motioner. Trustee Buck, seconded by Trustee Archer. Questions or discussion to item 3? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. And with that, I'm looking for a resolution into committee of the whole. Trustee Tutt, seconded by Trustee Deeth. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Welcome back. We'll receive item 12, report from Committee of the Whole held earlier this evening.
Thank you, and through the chair, it's my pleasure to present the report of the private session of the Committee of the Whole held earlier this evening, that the Finance and Facilities Committee report from December 12th, 2019 be received.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Trustee Tutt, questions? Seeing none. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Oral reports. City School Board Liaison Committee has not had a meeting. Therefore, there is no current update. Moving along to the Hamilton Wentworth Home and School Association. Trustee Danko.
If I could pass it along to Trustee Galindo, that'd be great.
Thank you, Trustee Danko. I have the honor of serving on this committee with Trustee Danko. There was a meeting on January 9th. I attended. It was a meeting of the Hamilton Wentworth Home and School Association, our local branch. Two big takeaways. One is that they're having a paint night fundraiser. For anyone that's interested, on February 6th. The cost is $45, and it's at Stonewall. So if you're looking to have a nice evening where you're supporting your local home and school association, that's something that you could ask Dawn about. I mean, Trustee Danko. The second item that I did want to mention is that their conference and annual general meeting is on April 6th at the Brantford Hotel, and that's being hosted by the Ontario Federation of Home and School Association. I will be participating, as will, I believe, Trustee Danko. Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions, comments to the report? Seeing none, moving along. Foundation for Student Success, Trustee Pagan-Miller.
Okay, there was no meeting, so there's nothing to report, no update, no meeting of the foundation, the board of directors. And the next meeting will be on a foundation's annual general meeting on February the 5th. So that's it. Okay.
So mark your calendars. Ontario Public School Board Association, I have two items to report. The 2020 pre-budget consultations are currently underway. Individuals and organizations can get their written submissions in by January 24th. The Ministry of Education is conducting their consultations on funding, so GSNs. The submissions are due January 31st, 2020. OPSPA has requested an extension as they plan to conduct consultations at the Public Education Symposium this week with all that are in attendance. With that, PES is taking place this week in Toronto, and I know a number of trustees are attending, all but, so if you're able to register and you're wanting to register, the director has offered himself up as childcare for anyone who needs it. So, with that, that concludes my report. Student trustee report. Turning to student trustee Mehdi.
Thank you. And unfortunately, student trustee Proza couldn't be here, so I'll be covering student senate and OSTA today. And for our secondary senate, we're going to be holding one more meeting prior to our 2020 Take the Lead conference for secondary school leaders. And our workshops, as well as the facilitators for these workshops, have been established alongside student senators. And the facilitators include a lot of our executive staff, community members, previous student trustees, and other members. And as well as that, for our elementary senate, we're continuing with leadership development as well as student outreach. And we recently collected feedback regarding individual education plans from our elementary senators as OSTA ACO begins collecting data regarding equity within both its working groups and its executive council. And as for OSTA ACO, the organization does remain very active and vocal on all of its social media platforms. And it has been keeping up to date with labor updates for students, as well as answering questions regarding these labor updates. And recently, ACO released a 30-second survey for pre-budget submission. And this is a survey for students to fill out regarding their input for what they would like to see in the 2020 provincial budget submission in regards to their education. And finally, the ACO Board Council Conference will be happening in February from the 20th to the 23rd.
Thank you. Any questions for student trustee Meddy? Trustee Buck?
Yes, so student trustee Meddy had mentioned something about ACO collecting data. I was just wondering what specifically are they looking for and why are they collecting data?
Student trustee Meddy?
Thank you. So ACO's Executive Council, almost every year they try to collect data for specific projects. And so last year it was the e-learning surveys through which they collected feedback for e-learning. And this year the Executive Council is composing a survey, most likely which will be regarding student equity. And that's just in the process of being made. And this will also be kind of reviewed at the Board Council Conference.
With that, seeing no further questions, turning now to the director's report.
So thank you through the chair. Happy 2020. Since 2020, the last 2 weeks plus today, I want to highlight just I think four important areas. Most importantly, the important work that we continue to be focused on equity as we continue to focus on reading by grade 1, our graduation goal, and also our caring adult approach. Very important because we know our staff care about our students, and I know that this is a difficult time for many of them as provincial labor sanctions continue across the province. When we look at some of the exciting things, it was exciting to welcome the new Eastdale community into their new school. A thank you to the superintendent and all the staff at that school who went above and beyond and came in during the holiday break to get their classrooms ready. What an exciting to see our school renewal in action, and I know Trustee Cam Galindo, thank you for being there for staff and being excited about it, and also welcoming other people to do tours, because it's incredible to see the fruits of the labor and decisions of the board come to fruition. Also excited to see, as I drive around, I've been driving around, Superintendent Gillies took me around to see Memorial Stony Creek. I see Rockton School every weekend when I drive on the way to Cambridge to see that. Exciting to see that new school, and drove around to see the status of Spring Valley, Greensville, and as we drive down Ryma Road to see Nora Francis Henderson. So excited to continue to see that important work in the new year. Also, the last few weeks, we were excited that Rogers Hometown Hockey this Sunday highlighted not only the Ancaster community, but our board, through our partnership division, working with the city, highlighted our school, Frank Pannenbaker. There was an incredible assembly Friday where Rogers Hometown Hockey was there to highlight our school, our community, and an exhibition game occurred Thursday between Dundas Valley Secondary School and Ancaster High, between not only both the boys teams, but girls teams, and the spirit of Ancaster and Dundas. Both games ended in a 1-1 tie. So great to see that. And last but not least, I want to highlight February 1st, I'm excited that we have over 15 students' names who are being nominated for the Reverend John C. Holland Award. And that's for students who've made contributions to their local African Canadian community, and excited to see who the winners will be. I'll be there February 1st. But it's great to see the staff championing and our school leaders championing those applications for our students to remove some of their financial barriers, and great that there's a partnership with John C. Holland to recognize our students. So that is my highlighted report this evening.
Thank you, Director. Any questions for the Director? Seeing none, moving along to the Chair's report. So first, welcome back. It feels like it's been forever, and I know I had the opportunity in the month of December to spend time with many of you attending the many holiday concerts and celebrations that were taking place. Just to highlight a few noted is we got to see the principal at Glendale, Barry Smith, transform into Queen for a phenomenal concert there, attending that with Trustee Paikin Miller. Over at Kathy Weaver with Trustee Miller, we got to have the I guess the good cheer and charity of the Rotary Club of Hamilton, who provided an entire holiday feast for our students, both, I guess, traditional and halal. I guess feast was provided. As well, we got to see a Santa Claus that looked very much like our director, curiously enough, at Mountain Kids Club with Trustee Archer. We also had joined the Addis Israel Synagogue for their Hanukkah celebrations. Both myself and the director attended that. Also, Viscount Montgomery hosted choirs for sing-along for all of our education staff to attend, and Trustee Mulholland was in presence for that, and at the very end helped lead the choir. Well, I do have footage of him conducting. So with that, December was a really great month to be out into our school communities and celebrating with our student, staff, and our parents and families. Moving into the new year, and some of this the director has already highlighted, it's a time of uncertainty with many of our employee groups moving into strike action, and that is where our board has been really clear in communications. We've worked very hard to ensure that we have communications going out to our parents, out to our school communities, to ensure that that everyone is informed immediately as soon as information is made available. Further, this is also a time where we find our trustees out into our school communities. They always are, but ensuring that we are at our school council meetings to support our communities with any questions that they may have. We do have an upcoming bell time study that will be coming, I guess, in the next couple of weeks. And so we'll be looking forward to that. And I guess just to kind of highlight the tone for the year to come, we also have, we've begun work on community engagement with the panel. So all important big items that are currently underway. And with that, our board has been very communicative, and this Board of Trustees has been very clear with ensuring strong lines of communication to our parents and our students and staff. And that concludes the chair's report. Any questions? Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Deeth. All in favor? Adjourned. You're going to have to be quicker to get your hand up, Trustee Tutt.
No, no, I didn't want to interrupt.
30 seconds. Thanks for your advice.
No, no, no. Listen, I'm just trying to. You guys have a nice night.
Thanks, Paul.